Welcome. I am Crimey Queen. Oh, let's get some more light on this. Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yes. Thank you for joining us. I am Crimey Queen, and of course, if you're new to this channel, this is where we're all about actualizing self-love with increasing knowledge of words and numbers, or with particular reference to the King James Bible. Of course, we have been delving in King James Bible because it is a construct of mathematical equations and numbers, and so that helps us to understand more about our makeup. And of course, the more we understand about our makeup, is the better we can be for ourselves and for others as well. Yes, know thyself. So wanting to continue this presentation deriving from the said God of Genesis. In case you're new to this, this is about the said God, which is the serpent that was in the Garden of Eden that we have grown to be scared of. Of course, we have grown to be so scared of this serpent, which also represents our mother. We have found out that the serpent is really Eve, and of course we have also learned to not like Eve very much because she was the mother who had disobeyed God according to the teachings, and she disobeyed God, and therefore had it not been for her, we would not be suffering as much as we do now, because everything was so perfect before. Hence, that really correlates with the same story of Job. Job was that's in the Bible as well, a very righteous man, a very wealthy man, a man who was perfect in the sight of God. And basically, of course, the word God equals 8, and we must remember that we are gods as well. Just bear in mind, everything has has layers of meanings, but then it is important that we get what is appropriate for us now. So Job was a wealthy man, and then there was on his business, and God and Satan sort of met in the garden wherever they were, and God observed Satan looking at Job, and he says, "Have you got your eyes on my servant Job?" And Satan said, "Well, yes, but he's okay. I mean, he's your special one, isn't he? I won't be able to do anything with him." God says, "Well, you can try. You can at least try." Anyway, just because it's a wonderful story, and I will be doing presentations on that. But there was the bet that God had decided to allow Satan to try and tempt Job, and to see that Job would forsake God and of course obey Satan. And there was conditions, and God said okay, because Satan did realize that he couldn't really that's really funny as well, because the term that was used, there's a hedge, you've got a hedge around him. So God said, well, I'll take the hedge off. Now that coincides with the serpent. It's like saying the serpent couldn't climb the hedge. Well, that's another point. Anyway, it turns out that God took off the hedge, meaning a protection of Job, and then Satan began, of course, with Job. And Job had his daughters were killed, his house was burned down, successions of disasters were happening. He had boils on his skin, and then he had to stay in a shed away from his wife because those boils were on his skin, and so on. And all his friends were saying, "You must have done something wrong, because he's like trying to work out, well, why am I going through all of these calamities? What's happening to me?" And his friends were passing and saying, "Hey, are you still in the shed? You sure you didn't pay your tithes? You sure you did this? Think again. You must have not done something. That's, you know, those things only happen to people who disobey God and who you know, are wicked. And it went on till his wife turned round and said to him, well, Job, I see you suffering so much, why don't you just curse God and die, you know? And Job, of course, says, now listen to you, just listen to you, talking like this common women out there on the street. And so then Satan, no, then Job, of course, having this introspection and dialogue with God, is saying, well, God, what is it that I'm meant to do, and so on. And God is saying, oh, have you not thought about, or have you forgotten where you come from? Have you forgotten that I was the one who created all of this? Have you forgotten that you know, where were you? Where were you when I created the heavens and the earth? Where were you when I formed the oceans? Where were you when I gushed out all these great creatures out of my womb? Now, I think the word womb was there, and I have to double check, but that's at that point I really cackled. Because whatever it is that I read in Job of chapter 38, at that stage of that dialogue going on with God and Job, it was clear that God wanted him to think literally where he came from a woman's, he came from a woman. And he was not really thinking about that, but God was saying, and at one point God was saying, and I want you to answer me. I want you and he said, be a man and answer me. So the answer was that he had to make a declaration, an affirmation of realizing where he came from. Of course, I hadn't even bothered to read much more about the story on there because I felt it was just already very clear. Although I haven't heard anyone else come with that explanation for the story of Job. But basically, there's the two aspects that I put together is that, first of all, he made a comment about the common women on the street. And then God really was trying very much to get him to think about the womb where he came from. It's like it's the feminine, it's the mother, it's the woman that can birth you. Only the female can birth you. And you need to honor that by calling the women on the street wild and common. That in itself was very clear that Job was living a self-righteous life to some extent. So he was righteous, he was good, he paid his tithe, and he was probably a very good husband and father, but he was a little bit, he thought that he was better than the common women out there. And that in itself meant that he would not have had enough respect for women as a whole, literally. Okay, so I'm saying this now because we are now looking at born in sin. I think that's where I came from. Well, I am finding a degree of comfort realizing that I am guided by Mother Eve, who is the serpent. So the serpent is not direct. There is a point where the serpent is very direct. You can see where the serpent forms that 7, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. And of course there's the time it goes round, there's the time it's the S, and you're wondering, well, where is the rest? I've just noted something as well. It's like the curl of the S, so it's the hole where the hole, okay, where the circle is uncurled. That's the S. So that's where the serpent is uncurled. So we have been looking at born in sin, and we are told that we are born in sin, and of course that is with the view of looking at beginning. And that is Mother Eve has been taking me back and forth with the word beginning, which is the third letter, no, the third word of the Bible in Genesis, when it says in the beginning God created. So there were 10 words, and of course we have looked at the first letter, or the first letter that Mother Eve uttered in Genesis of chapter 3. We have seen how we have got 10 from that, and we have also seen that the word let equals 10. So there we see on the first verse of the Bible, it correlates perfectly with the first word of Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, where the spokesperson is in action. That's where she begins to utter her words. That's where she begins her business. That's where she begins to say, let there be light. She's the one, Mother Eve, who says, she's the said God. Okay. She's the said God. We give her a red eye. That she is the one who says, let there be light, let there be a firmament, let there be waters, let the earth bring forth fruits, or I suppose let there be lights in the heaven to give light upon the earth, and let the waters from the waters divide the waters or something, and let the earth bring forth abundant creatures after its kind, and his kind, and their kind, and there were different kinds on there. So basically what I discovered this morning, and what Mother Eve was telling me this morning, that the creation, or what we call creation here, was already happening in this third, by the time we got let there be light. That has been confirmed in the teaching of Christ, where Christ said to his disciples, or the teachings, don't you know you are the light of the earth? Now, to even bring this into this is what numerology does. If we even said light of the earth, light is 2, or 11, 1 plus 1. Light of, the word of is 3, the word the is 6, and the word earth, light of the earth is 7. And we add this together, this would give us the essence of who we are. That's how numerology is working here. So here we have 6 plus 7 is 13, plus 3 is 16, 17, 18. There we are. 1 plus 8 equals 9. And that 9, so you are the light. Basically, I said light first, of the earth. Okay, light of the earth. That's what it is here. Light of the earth equals 9. So, oh, my pad, yes. Light of the earth equals 9. This is where we see that we had, we were already in action, because we are, like, it seemed like I was, the word that, or picture that comes to mind is like cells of the batteries. And I think it kind of reminds me of the Matrix now, because that's how we are being programmed, being charged on certain things. So, and of course that would mean that is on strong parallel with what we really are. So we are the light of the earth. We are, and that's what I got through Mother Eve was saying, we are stars. Of course, the word stars equals 5, as in Mother Eve as well, 5-pointed star. So we are stars on the earth. So basically, that's why we are asked to shine our light. Shine your light, and Christ, this is in Christ's teaching as well. So going back to born, so basically we were born light. We were born light. We need to acknowledge, it's important we acknowledge we are light. So born, I was looking at the word born and also looking at how the teachings of that we were born in sin. So I'll just put this, just to let you see this, just a little intro on how we got into the sin. So we looked at sin, which is Mother Eve. The S is Mother Eve. We looked at sin. We looked at the SCENE, like the scene of a crime or the scene of whatever it is. And we also looked at sin, the past tense of C. And these are the three C's. The three C's, in fact, I think that's what I should rename it. The three C's that, or the three scenes that we were born. I think that's what it is said, actually. We were born with three scenes. And that's why we probably need 3 Holy Marys to utter Holy Marys or something like that. So the 3 C's, okay. So we had the numerical value for this, which is 1, 3 5s 15 and 1 16. So this is 7. And then we have 3 5s 15 again, 15, 18, 19. So this is 1, 19, 1 plus 9 is 10, and so on. So there we have again 14, 15. So this is 6. So 7 plus 7 is 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. So this again shows us that we were born a 5. We are 5-pointed star. It also means that there is the 7. I am hoping that I got it exactly like this. Perhaps I didn't really add all of this in the last presentation, but what I did see as well is that we have got that 7 here. As I say, we are born of 14 gods, and of those 14 gods, it seemed like they would have paired up. So we can say, for instance, that there are 2 sets of 7 gods that would be of left and right, or up and down, or good and bad, however we want to choose it. Well, not however we want to. In fact, the way we interact with them is what determines their behavior or dominance in our makeup. So we are still the ones who are we are the embodiment of their makeup, but our interaction with them determines how they manifest in our lives. Thank you, Mother Eve. Now, this is where it said we were born in sin. So basically, as I say, the 7 gods, but we are of 6 entities or creatures or whatever it is that we are the construct of 6 people or whatever it is, because we are not the first people, human beings on this planet. There was a genocide or something, or wherever it happened, but we are the result of a genocide or an experimentation or something like that. That is all in accordance with the scriptures that I am getting, because I am doing the numerical values, and we have seen the patterns are falling spot on, which all came through intuitively done, but also through the sacrifice template. So if you are new to this channel, you can check out in particular an introduction to Crime Queen's channel and templates to numerology. Otherwise, you can still explore a lot more on YouTube. So we see here with the 6, with 6 here, which so the 6 for sin, that is here. We are that sin, and now I understand why we are born of sin. So but the sin is really, we have got a serpent. The serpent is in us, and it is in, the word in is that it also is, the in now is really, in is a perspective of your view or your position. So in, to say in the house would mean that there is out in the environment or out on the street. Whereas you say, oh, I'm in the street and I'm out of the house. So basically it's, we have been, this is where the within and the without has got the same kind of interaction, but because we had been taught about more about and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the deep, and of course we think of darkness because we have been trained to think a certain way. So we have just been going through the scene that the stage, how it has been set for us. And we also need to remember that the scene has been set in a certain way to get us to react and to react a certain way. It's like, it's that is where the program had come into play. So while I was doing this, while I was doing this, the first presentation on this, I realized that, well, I had this vision which seemed out of nowhere, but if we are dealing with the serpent, it would not be out of nowhere, because that's what the serpent does. And because I have decided to allow the serpent to channel through me, so to speak, in that way. So there I was with the image of dandelion. The image of dandelion, not seeming relative to anything here apart from this yellow that was on top of there, would seem to have presented the energy of dandelion, because we were talking about flower. To be very honest, there was an 8-petal flower. So the 8-petal flower, as far as I understand, the dandelion has much more petals than 8-petal flower. I don't know if it has if it grows in many 8s, I don't know, but that's what we went along with that. And went along with this because Mother Eve, the serpent of the Garden of Eden, the god of speech, the god of language, the serpent who was the wisest of all creatures, have now told us that we should be counting backward. And so this is the backward, no, this is not the backward motion, but because I had this message about counting backward, I also did do the numerical value and looked at dandelions in the way Mother Eve had told us to do. So dandelion on here actually is 10 letters, and yes, let's just do this. I'm doing this in, I'm looking at sin as well. Maybe it's, so here we do have sins here, S-I-N here. I'm just saying sin is actually in dandelions, because we had dandelion and then we had to put an S. At the end of the words where an S is, I see it's indicative to that Mother Eve is saying, yes, you have got it right. It's her, it's like her signature. It's like her tick, we could say. So there we have like 4 letters on either sides here, and we have 2 middle letters. The 2 middle letters, I saw they equal 8 together. and that coincides with Mother Eve, who ate of the apple. We also see that it's El, and El, of course, we have Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, and Michael, and all of those El and the El gods. So I'm not sure what more message is going to come out of this, but I know it's going to coincide with the 10 numbers, which is going to be, so we are asked to count backwards, and backwards is really like, so we have 5, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 8, sorry, I missed 6. That's what it means about counting backwards. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what I do notice, the correlation I notice here in sin is that on either ends of this, the two end numbers match, when added together, match the sin. It matches sin, and it matches the value of the said God, which is 6, and which also is the 6 that we are. We are the number of God is, the number of man is 6. So we are of this 6. The said God is 6, and the sin is 6. So, like now, this reminds me about that the number 666, which I think everyone has heard about it now. If you're watching this channel, I would believe you would have heard it to be a very evil number, and it is the mark of the beast. So basically here, what I am getting from these 3 6s here, for instance, is that we would be required, it means that it is a requirement that we overcome. When we say overcome, is that we are working in sync with the 6, that we are able to gel and honor the teachings of the serpent, where the serpent is teaching us. Sometimes we feel that the serpent is really against us. No, but it's the serpent wants to be active, it wants to move. And so this is where it is in relation to our Kundalini rise. It's the lower chakra. And so this is where we are required to eat healthier, think healthier, develop a healthier lifestyle to activate the third eye, which coincides with our 6th sense. So basically, here we are being, it's that we are being advised to get more in tune with our 6th sense and to operate from that perspective, instead of where I was saying about, well, it's not instead, because the 5 senses were pivotal to activating the 6th sense. But Mother Eve now has asked specifically for us to count backward, meaning it's like pay attention to the ends, where the ends are meeting. And so we can use that to propel us to get into that dimension where we can think clearer, we can live healthier lifestyles, we can have more harmonious relationships, we can feel more in tune with our higher self. We can live, as I say, healthier relationships, not just with ourselves, but others. We can be of service to others. And so there is so much to gain from developing a healthier lifestyle and getting in touch with our 6th sense. And that's what it's about. So the thing that we were taught were sins, in this sense, is like recognizing that it's like when we do something that we are not overly happy with or so, it is the serpent, for instance, is pointing to us what is within us, because so within or as within, so without. Well, what is up, what is down? It's as above, so below. So this is why the S is the perfect scale. The S, Mother Eve, is the perfect scale that shows us where we're at. Always showing us that, well, sometimes we behave nastily and we think, oh, well, the devil had us to do that. The devil is showing us the state of our thinking. Basically, we are part or participants in the quality of the outcome of what we become, or the subject of what is going to be the object of our behavior. And that's what the serpent is helping us to do, to see ourselves. How well are we performing? So there we are. This is how we are born in sin. And of course, there is another sin, and where we are asked to, okay, let's do sin number 2. So the second sin is that we were born in. Of course, we were born in sin. Wow. There were activities with our parents, sexual activities that had precede our being conceived, and then we are born. So there are many aspects of that birth. We are birthing, like 1 month is a degree of birth in itself, because it's birthing in that way is cycles, and we have seen that it means like incubator. So the womb is an incubator in that state, and when the child is born and come into the world is another incubator. So while we are here, we are still in an incubator, because we have so many impositions, so many people are requiring us to behave in certain ways. It's like a baby still in an incubator in a hospital ward, and there's the nurse who's taking the temperature. There's someone who is checking and moving them around, and they are lifting them today, and they are weighing them today, and there's so much going on. And all these different people have are investing. I don't know if investing is a way to put it, but they are planting or merging their energies with that baby. Now, there is also a recognition from what Mother Eve is saying, that all these interactions, or all interaction, is very vital for the survival of the child in that case. So basically, interaction is a vital tool. However, the quality of the interaction is another thing that we question. But that the whole idea of movement and breathing and expectations in itself is an exchange of energies going on. And in that exchange of energies, of course, it's like saying, well, I'm alive. I want to be alive. I want you to see I'm alive. Yes, you're talking to me. It's like, so there is that kind of thing going on. So back to we won't explore dandelion much more now, but it was giving you an intro that we're going to explore the numbers, and to ensure that this is the format Mother Eve is talking about. And we see that the 2 middle numbers as well still coincides with the template. I'm happy about that in a sense, because I have seen that the template is very robust, the one for the sacrifice template. And so I was also thinking, well, if we have 2 numbers, how are we going, extra numbers, how are we going to do this? And maybe that was the question I did ask in hindsight. Yes, it's like, how were we going to do that? And there was the picture of the dandelion. So in fact, I did spell it as an I here, but of course I've checked the correct spelling, and we see that it is still working out quite interestingly, in the sense of when we add 6 plus 5, that gives us 11. And we had that as well. So we see this is where Jesus Christ comes in as well. The 6 is the number of man, and we could say 5 here is like Mother Eve together. We see that. And we have L here, so it's like perhaps asking us to look at EL, because I have looked at L as in the word let, but EL because that's Mother Eve asking us to look at things backward. Okay, but 5 plus 3 equals 8. So here Mother Eve will be looking at 8. We'll be looking at 8 here. 8 is really that which we must crunch. So it's as if she has positioned the number 8 right here in the middle now, which is it's going to be like headquarter zone. So it's like asking us now to pay our dues right here, where we were paying to the inland revenue there, but we get to headquarters now. She's taking control. That's what is happening right here. She is really taking control, because where she had taken of the fruit, which equaled 5, she is now taking control of this 8 and ready to break the chains. That's what is happening. So if we add these together here, we have 9, that would be 10. We would have 21 on this side. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And that is just like the other template so far. And then we had 10. So 5 plus 5 is 10. And 4 is 14. So 1 plus 4 is 5. So yes, that's correct. So this is 10 and 4, 14. Okay, that's Mother Eve. That's what Mother Eve is doing. So we have 5 on this side and 3 here. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Wow. And 8 plus 8 is 16. So here, because the teaching has been going on about how we add a 7, we can see the 14 gods that I had been talking about is reflected here again, which is direct correlation with Mother Eve. So, wow. Of course, we are looking at, it's that new way of looking at the scriptures, and this is really biblical. Wow. The said God, Mother Eve is 6. Let's look at, we have looked at sin. As I say, wherever we have 3 5s, that this would give us 3 5s here. This is Mother Eve. The word 3 5s here as in E-N-E, here again. That would be 3 5s here. That is Mother Eve. 3 5s 15, 3 5s 15. And here as well, I-N is 14. That would give us 5 here. So we see we have 3 5s right here in this. And of course, this is the serpent in those 3 sections. Here, there's magic in number 3. The magic of number 3, I have a series of presentations on that. Yeah, this is really amazing. Amazing. So these S's here, of course, as we say, it's Mother Eve. This is how I have seen it now. It's Mother Eve's way of letting us know she is leading. Whenever the S is in front of the word, she is really leading. So again, this is not about feeling guilty as we did. We were actually taught how to sin, meaning taught how to hate because someone was teaching us something that did not add up. And now we see how it adds up. We see how 3 5s are 15 here, how that adds up. We see how when we add all the numerical values here, like we have done here as well, it adds up to 14, and 1 plus 4 is 5. So we'll just make reference to that. And this is all about the beginning. That's the beginning. Wow. Okay. So what we have covered in this is our old template. We'll have to see how Mother Eve really wants us to maybe work with this or continue or not. But this has seemed very robust in a sense, but it's now Mother Eve is still asking us to, where we have 5 there, Mother Eve wants us to look at both 5 and 6. Is that to say, like 5 and 6, it's the same, it's just different position, really. Right here, this is where when you are in Christ, you are a new creature. So it's the same numbers here, but 8 has shifted onto that side. It would seem as if the side of like the sack where all those things were happening. This is really Mother Eve's way of turning the table over, just like Jesus did in the house when in the synagogue when they were either bantering prices as a marketplace. They were using, he said, the house of God, and the word house of course equals 5. So basically it's like saying right there, using the tongue to say things that they were not meant to say. And so this is where words and things are being toppled over. Okay, so this is very deep stuff. I do myself see it as that, but it's all relevant, and it's a way of us deconstructing and having to use our brain by even saying to count backward. Reminds me about when I'm meditating, which a lot of people do, count backward, because it gets the brain to think in the way it don't normally does, and to counterbalance. Okay, and relax, of course. So thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this and found this fun or interesting. And if you have any comments, feel free to leave your comments, likes, and subscribe, and share, because that's how we do it. We share to actualize in self-love. I'm sharing of myself, and you are sharing of yourself too by joining us. So thank you. Namaste. And spill over with love. Okay.